Welcome to the fastest daf in town. Today, Masechtas Avodah Zarah daf Mem Beis. We are going to begin on Mem Beis Amud Aleph, about 10 lines from the top, with the word Esvei. So we were learning a machlokas between Rav Yochanan and Reish Lakish when it comes to Avodas Kachavim Shenishber Me'aleha. If you have idol worship or idols that were actually broke, but they broke by themselves, what the status is. So on this we had a machlokas. Esvei, Matzah Tamnis Yad, Tamnis Regel. So our Mishnah said that if you find among the broken parts of an idol, you find an entire leg or hand, because it was probably used for Avodah Zarah. So my Hashvarm who it's broke and it broke by itself. So Hatirgim Shmuel Ba'ibin al Basisa. So we actually had this already in yesterday's daf, that it's when it's on its basis, when it's on a base, and therefore because of that, it's clear that it was for Avodah Zarah. The din is that an idol worshiper can be mavatal his own idols as well as his friend's idols. So therefore, if he looks at this thing that maybe he was worshiping and all of a sudden he says, no, I don't want to worship it anymore, so then it no longer has the status of Avodah Zarah. However, Yisrael in mavatal avodas kachavim shal v'kachavim. However, when it comes to a yid, he does not have the kayach to be able to be mavatal it. Okay, so that is the distinction between an Ovi Kachavim and the Yisrael. So my Tavi Kachavim Shenishbro Me'aleha. It should be mutter. If Yisrael is mavatal, it shouldn't be any different than Avodas Kachavim that broke by itself. And therefore, we clearly see that just as it's asur by Yid that he can't be mavatal, it's so too if it's something in which broke by itself, it's still asur. So Rabbi, no. We're talking about over here shepachsa, that he smashed it with a hammer. Says Rashi bepatish, until it changed its form and basically flattened it out. Says Rashi avolo chisrakum, he didn't actually break it off, and therefore it's not batal. So v'chi pachsa mai havi, v'hatanan pachsa will be shloi chasra batal. It says that if you smash it and crush it, basically, but you did it in a way, again, it's not missing anything, but it's still batal. So hanimili de pachsa v'kachavim. That's when Ovi Kachavim does it, because again, Ovi Kachavim has a stronger ability to be mavatal idol worship. Avol pachsa Yisrael will batal. That's one answer. Rabbi oilam ki pachsa Yisrael nami batal. The truth is that even when a yid smashes it in a way with a hammer, like flattening it out, that is mavatal. So if that's the case, why do we say that it's also there? El gzera dilma magvala v'hadir mavatal v'havi avodas kachavim b'yad Yisrael. The problem is that maybe in the process of doing so, the yid will pick it up, and therefore he'll be kainit, and now he'll be the owner of the item, and therefore since that happens, he's not able to be mavatal anymore. It says Rashi, Rabbanan goes to the whole bittul Yisrael la bittul. Yuzera dilma magvila the kanili bahagba. You're going to pick it up, and that's how you're coin it. The whole davar hefker could go in mitzia niklas magba. So therefore, it won't be able to cannot be mavatal it. So and that's how we understand this. It's never batal, and therefore, as Rashi says, the tu'unig niza has to be buried. There's no other takana in this situation. Esvei, akim shehevi avanim min hamarkolis. So we're going to learn about this Avodah Zarah that basically was almost triangularly formed, when you had a couple of rocks on the bottom and then one on the top, and they would throw stuff at it. That's the worshipping of Avodah Zarah, of the markolos. Again, we'll discuss this. So let's say you have these rocks, which are Avodah Zarah rocks. However, v'chipa behen drachim v'tartiyos mutaros. So let's say they took these rocks and ended up using it to pave a highway or something like that. So, or right, to make like a cobblestone road. So obviously in that situation he's mevatel it because he's not using it for avodah zarah, and therefore in akum it's mutter. Yisrael shehevi avodah min hamarkoyis v'chiba hena drachim v'tartiyos asuros. Because again, Yisrael cannot be mevatel. So ma'ati havi kavodas kachavim shenishmer me'aleha. So hachinami kedarava. So we'll just say the same answer that we said before, like the shita of Rava. Rava said that you flattened it out by Yid. Now, even though technically he should be able to be mevatel it, but it's a gezerah because he may have picked it up. Esvei oiv kachavim sheshifa v'es kachavim utzarkoi. Let's say you have an oiv kachavim that's chipping off pieces of idol, and he's doing it for his own purposes. He's doing it for his own needs. So he v'shipuyeha mutarin. So it and its pieces are mutter, because obviously the fact that he's chipping it away shows that he's being mevatel it, and he's using it for his own purposes, not for avodah zarah. However, if it's l'tzarka, let's say it's for the sake of the avodah zarah itself, he asura v'shipua mutarin. So in that case, the remaining avodah zarah is asur, but the pieces that you're chipping away, because no one's going to use that to worship with it, is mutter. However, Yisrael sheshib avodas kachavim bein l'tzarka he v'shipeh asurun. When it comes to Yisrael, again, we're strict across the board. Amai tehavi avodas kachavim shenishbro mi'aleha. So again, it's a kasha. If you hold that when it comes to avodas kachavim that broke by itself is mutter, so then it should be mutter here too. So hacha nami kidarava. You're right. Really, he should be able to mevatel it. It's a gezer. He may pick it up. Eisvei Rabbi Yosi oimer shaychek v'zayirei laruach. So we're going to see in a later daf that what are you supposed to do to dispose of this avodah zarah? So you can grind the idol into dust, v'zayirei ruach, and throw it into the wind. That's if you find a idol which is made out of some type of metal of sorts. Omatel yam, you can throw it into the sea. So amrlo afhi nasa zevel. This is not a good idea because it could be used as fertilizer, and therefore it's going to be used. You're getting hana from this avodah zarah, so that's not an eitzah. The ksiv lo yidmak miyadcha mu'uma min acherim. So you're not allowed to use this. As Rashi, Gamata, Yeheni Yisrael Mimena. Yid is getting hana, even after you ground it up. Shahari Hashachim Nasim Zevel. This grinding up material now is useful fertilizer. V'nemar Liyidbak B'yad Chamuma. You can't use it. Again, you're grinding it up. Shouldn't that be your mevatel it? So what's the problem now that it's like dust? So hachanami kedarava. Eisvei Rabbi Yosi ben Yisian oimer matzat suras darkoin. Let's say you found something which has the image of a darkoin, which is some type of image of avodah zarah, and we'll discuss exactly what that is mostly on next daf. However, its head is cut off. So savigod is kachavim. We don't know who's the one who cut it off, which is obviously if you cut off the head of an image, it shows that you're being mevatel it. So it depends. If we don't know who did it, then it's mutter. Vadi Yisrael chadchu aser, but if a yid did it, it's aser. Same thing. Esrei. Rabbi Yosi Omer Avlo Yoraka Yisbi Mos Geshamim. Also, not vegetables in the rainy season, because the leaves that fall upon them, says Rashi. So this is a Mishnah that says Zaydin Tachteha Shel Ashera Yerakos Mimosa Geshamim, that you could plant underneath these Ashera trees, which are of course Avodah Zarah. You can plant vegetables during the rainy season. Shatzel Kashalhem, because the reality is that shade is not good for vegetables. V'chein sel ion kashalhen, so too the shade of trees. So even though it's true, it's an Asherah tree, which is a Avodah Zarah, which can't get hana from, but this is counterproductive to its growth. That's in the rainy season. Not in the sunny season. Because when it's sunny, shade is good for them. So you can only use it Yemos like a Shamim, says Rashi, but not Yemos Acham. Okay, so so we have the same kash, and so Shani Hasam over here we give a different answer. The Iker Avodas Kachavim Kayemas, says Rashi, Ha'ilan lo batal, because the tree is still here. Hilkach Neviah HaNaishus Memen Asura, which is the reason why the leaves that fell off of it are usher, right? So again, that's where we're making a distinction that between Yemos Achama and Yemos Gesham. Okay, let's look at question 3. Yisrael o Akim Sheshifa Avodas Kachavim, they shaved it off. With Sarka or with Sarchai, Ha'im Hashupoyim Asurin, are the pieces Asur or Mutter? So for Yisrael it's very simple. For Yisrael, it's straight across the board is Asur. And Akum, it depends. If it's Chishipa, Ben Lutzarka, Mutarin. The question is, the actual Avodah Zarah itself, it's totally if it's Lutzarkai or Lutzarka. Okay, let's look at question A24. Yisrael in Mavato Avodah Zarah Shel Akum. If it's mutter, so lahavi kinishma me'aleha. I don't know why I got this wrong. This is a simple question. O bepachsa is you flattened it out, or it's a gezerah dilma magni labahadim avato. That maybe you lifted it up and therefore you're kind it, and then once the Yisrael's kind it, so you could no longer be mavatal it. TB25. Yisrael in mavatal Avodah Zarah Shel Akum. Exact same question. 2 answers. Our Im Yisrael banged Avodah Zarah Shatsura Mishanenes Hacha B'Shel Akum B'Zel Chashiv, or it's Gezerah. I don't know why I didn't get this right. This is the same question. Dilma Yisrael Asa Hagba. You may have done lifted up. V'kaina et Avodah Zarah. V'lo batal l'oilu. Okay, that's the exact same question as TA24 is TB25. So let me just mark this down. Okay, and let's continue. All right, so okay, so again, when it comes to the tree, we make that distinction. So where it says on ayin, so again, shani hasam the ikra avodas kachavim kayemas mem beis and beis. I maha shipuyin. When it comes to shaving off the avodah zarah, the ikra avodas kachavim kayemas. The avodah zarah stays. You're just cutting some of it off. Gatani with sarka. We said that if it's for your own needs. For its needs, he has surah v'shipua mutara. Why is it that the pieces are mutter? It should be like the tree. Rav Huna b'Reinu Rav Yeshua oimer lafi she'ein avodas kachavim batla derech gedilasa, because avodah zarah cannot be mavatal in its normal growth. So therefore, since you're dealing with planting in a tree, says Rashi, planting these vegetables, that darka shel hashana. This is the way the year goes. Lahashir olin. Shilah, that the leaves fall, and others grow. Your intention is to be mavatal. So if it's the normal way of normal routine, so then you can't. It's not bottle. Let's say you have a nest, and it is at the top of a tree, shel hektish. Now the question is, how do you get to that nest? You can't use hektish. Well, in the hen and mo'alin. So in the event you're not supposed to get hana, this is Isidur Rabbanan, but however, if you do get hana, you're not going to be moyel because midaraisa, you're not going to be chayav a carbon me'ila. We're going to explain the reason why soon. Let's say the nest is on the top of an avodah zarah tree, so yatiz bikana, knock the nest down. So kasach hadaita kagan shishaber mimenu eitzim v'kin mehen. That we're thinking what happened is, so first of all, what does it mean yatis v'hakana? Says Rashi, yashlich atzi hakana, you should take the wood of the nest, b'makal with a stick, mini ilan, yisrafena v'yenehena mehen, you can get hana, v'yawa al ha'ashera v'yitam, you shouldn't climb the tree. The imkein nimsa mishtamish bashira, you're using the Asherah tree for your own benefit, but makam tsulam, instead of a ladder. V'zuhi hanami menu min hashera. So you're not allowed to climb up the tree. So you broke off some wood, so we see that the wood came from this tree. You can rip off some of the wood from that Asherah tree, throw it, and cause the instead of climbing. But apparently we see that means you could use it, even though it's considered to be derech gedilasa. No, actually, you took the wood came from another tree from somewhere else, because you can't use that tree. I'll prove it to you. Now, you got it from somewhere else. Not only get hana from the tree and climb up the tree midrabana. Why? Dahalo kadishi, because if it's a different tree, it's not hektish. If let's say you break off some of the branches or the wood from the hektish tree, the kinsmahena milo moalin ha kadishi, the tree's kaidish. So me the area hacha begedulin habrendo achmi kain askinan. Here we're talking about growth that came after you're a makdashit, because savar in meila begedulin. There's no din meila on aftergrowths. Rabbi Avodah, Rabbi Yochanan, my yatis befroichim. So he actually has a different answer. It means with chicks, not with the wood of the tree. Armali Rabbi Yaakov, Rabbi Yomi bar Tachlifa, asfirloch befroichim kan v'kan mutarin. So he explained to me that when it comes to these efroichim, kan v'kan, says Rashi, bein behektish, bein ba'ashera, whether we're talking about the efroichim that come from a hektish tree or a share tree, they're mutter, says Rashi, in srichen ilan, because since they're efroichim, they can fly away, they don't really need the tree. Bebeitzim kan v'kan asurin. However, if we're dealing with eggs, that they need the tree, so then the Rabbanan are geyser on the tree itself. Now, Rav Ashi v'efroichim should srichen le'iman kebeitzim damo. The din is that when it comes to efroichim, which they are so small that they need their mother, it's ki'il like they're eggs, and therefore they're not independent. So the way that one can determine whether something is independent or not, again, is whether it's sarach le'ima. Let's see the next mission. It says Masnisa. Let's say you find a kli, and it's engraved on it a picture of the sun or the moon. Surah's dark coin, which Gemara is going to talk about that, is Yalichem Yam HaMelech. So you should throw it into the sea, so that no one can derive any hana from these kalim, because they're for Avodah Zarah. Shimon Megamliel Omer Shial HaMechubadim Asurin. If these are distinguished kalim, they're nice, then it's asur. However, shal hamavuzin mutar, and if they're disgraceful or like ordinary kalim, nothing special, then it's mutar, because it's possible that they were actually not used for avodah zarah. No, it says the Gemara, so memra dolahanihu the palchilahu midiachrina lo. Why is it that the Mishnah is only singling out sun, moon, and the dark coin, nothing else? Raminhi. So let's say a person does a shchita, and they do this for the sake of the waters, for the sea, the river, for the desert, or the sun and the moon, for the stars or constellations, even if, as Rashi says, a shilshul is a tolak, even a tiny worm, if it doesn't matter if it's big or small, it's still usr. So what's the difference if it's a kli that's being used for Avodah Zarah? Who cares what image it is? Any image is for Avodah Zarah, and it should be also. So Rabbi, mifla chochol demishachi palchi. When it comes to bowing down, it's true that they would potentially bow down for anything. It says Rashi Masfeka lo gazer rabbanalayu. But we're not going to go out of our way and just assume because they can potentially have worshipped anything that maybe this is an item that they worship. Because then you wouldn't be able to use anything. Because anything is potentially used for Avodah Zarah. Meitzar umefalchi, if let's say it was a created vessel for worship, so these are things in which they would actually create for the sake of Avodah Zarah and worship it. However, any other image, the fact that there's a picture on it doesn't mean anything necessarily, and that doesn't mean that it was created for that purpose. Okay. Mankin Rav Sheshis Chumri Mastisa. So he actually embraced the stringencies of the Sugya Vatani, and he learned it like this, quote, Kol Mazalos Mutarin. All constellations are mutter, chutz mamazal chamalvan, with the exception of the sun and the moon. And then he says, V'chol partsuvim mutarin, all images of faces are mutter, chutz me parts of Adam, with the exclusion of an image of a person. V'chol hatsurais mutarais, chutz mitsuras darkoin. All images are fine except for that of the dark one, which again the Mishnah quoted. Amar kol mazalos mutarin chutz mamazal chamalvana. So hachamayiskinan. What are we talking about? That was taka made for the sake of Avodah Zarah. Then why would anything else be allowed? But the pasuk says, you're not allowed to make it. So therefore, if it was made l'shem kach for Avodah Zarah, then it's awesome. What happened is, you found this image. You just found it. Now the question is, what do you do with it? The Ketnan, Hamoitze Kalim. It says if you find Kalim, which again, this is the important lashon of our Mishnah. It says Hamoitze Kalim. Not it was created that way. You found it that way, and it has the item that you found has a picture of a sun or a moon. Suras Levana, Suras Darkoin. You're like if you throw it away. Oh, so Iba might say if we found it, so Ima Mitziasa. What does the middle part say? It says, Kol Partsufayois Mutar and Chutzman parts of Adam. All images are okay except for the face of a human being. So Iba might say if you found it, parts of Adam be Aser, why should it be Aser? Tanan, it might say Kalam Elehim Suras Chamo, Suras Lavana, Suras Darkan, Yochel Miyam Melech. Only those things. Suras Darkan in, and the other sun and the moon. Parts of Adam low. So if we're talking about a case that you found it, then parts of Adam should be allowed. Now, we're talking about a case that it was it was made, right? You created this vessel in this particular way. And it's like the shita of Rabbi Yeshua, like the opinion of Rav Huna, Bered Rabbi Yeshua. Okay. Let's go to Rashi. The culprits pertsufim. Any face, any image can go into chaya, behema, mutal tzira. You're allowed to make those pictures of animals. Af agav the shore of Arya and Desher shemashim shel mailahem. Even though these are considered to be, as Chagiga says, these are images that are on the the kisa shel kavod. The ox, the lion, the eagle, doesn't matter. The hasam are basin yachad l'govechad. That's like all four of them are connected. Here's only like one picture of them. Chutz parts of Adam, excluding the face of a person, they feel chulchudi aser. So in that situation, even that is aser. That's aser. Okay, so you could really make anything, but it just cannot be that of a person. Oh, so the Gemara says, okay, 1 second. So Iboy says, I'm a sefer. Called Suras Matsurais, Chutz Matsuras Darkai. Now the Iboy said, it was made this way, Suras Darkai Miaser, so why would be also Exiv Sasin, Zahav, Elohei Kesed Elohei Zahav, don't make idols of silver and gold, Hani in. only these, says Rashi, Shemoshin Shibamaroim, that are made up high. Stew is dark and low. However, it's not one of those four things, so it should be allowed. As we saw already in our Mishnah, it says Hamoitza Kalim. It sounds much more clear. Our Mishnah's a diak from our Mishnah says Hamoitza Kalim. Velehim Suras Chama. So Reish of a Seifa b'Moitza Masiyasa b'Aisa. How do I understand that? The Reish of the Seifa is how you found it. And the middle one is case of the Adam is where you created it. So Amar Rabbi why not? Reish of a Seifa b'Moitza Masiyasa b'Aisa. So they're different cases, so they're different situations. Rabbi no, Kula b'Moitza. So the problem is, how do you understand the case of the face of a person? Mitziyasa Yehuda he decided Yehuda Moisif af demus menika v'tsar afs, that he also includes the face of a nursing woman as well as this sarafis, which we'll see this person who supports. So menika al shem chava shemenika kolom kuloi. This is referring to Chava, who literally nursed or satiated the entire world because she was the first mother. She's named Kochai. And Sar Afis al Shem Yosef. That's referring to Yosef at Tzaddik Shetzar Mafayis as Kolam Kuloi, that he sustained the whole world. Vahuda Nakid Guruya Vakakayel. That's only if they're holding produce or a measuring kli. Vihi, that's for him. Vihi the Nafta Ben Vikamenika. And the issue is only when she's holding a child in this image and she's nursing the baby. So therefore it's clear that that was the intention of it being made for that purpose. We're going to stop there. Let's look at question 4. So Ma Hoisiv Rashba, Rabbi Shmuel, Divrei Chachamim L'Kula. What did he say was a kula, and what did Rabbi Yehuda say was a chumrah? Great question. So, first of all, Rabbi Shmuel said, Shi'al hamavuzan and mutarim, refers to the Mishnah, if they're kalim which are disgraceful or ordinary use, so then it's mutter, doesn't matter what's on them. Rabbi Yehuda was moisef in the aserd demus denakta ben v'menika v'tzar afis denakid guriya v'kakayel, which we just said that if this is Rabbi Yehuda, right, which is we just said over here. This is question 4, so let me just mark this over here. It's back on this daf. That Rabbi Yehuda was moisif av demus menika v'tzar afis. Okay. Aka.